You're listening to DraftKings Network.
You know that sound. It's the sound of money hitting your Venmo account, a friend paying you back, or maybe it's getting cash back from your favorite business when you pay with the Venmo debit card, or it's realizing you can pay with Venmo at checkout at thousands of brands. Now, there are so many more ways to answer the question, what's your Venmo? Download Venmo today. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Dosh Cashback terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
During one of the breaks today, Greg Cote was telling me the NBA Finals start on Thursday. It's a good matchup. It's the Celtics. It's the Mavericks. You have star power. You have Boston. You have one of those franchises that the NBA always wants in the NBA Finals. But you also have an unlikable city, I think, versus an unlikable player in Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
And Greg was telling me he can't find a way to root for anyone.
I can't. I mean, I'm going to be interested in the series because I think it's going to be pretty even. And right now, this iteration of the Boston Celtics is most known for not winning, right? Jalen Tatum and those guys. So it'll be interesting to see if they can finally win. But I just don't find Boston and its fans particularly likable. The players are not dislikable, I don't think. But the Boston fans just have that earned reputation. And then on the other side, you mentioned Kyrie Irving. He's one of the most, if I ask you to name who are the unlikable players in the NBA, I think Kyrie Irving is on a lot of people's top fives.
He would be right up there for a lot of people.
And
You're
so
right. Yes.
For me, I just can't. I usually try to root for somebody in a series. I just can't root for
Kyrie has been better this year.
He's saying all the right things, but you can't forget what he has said in the past.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I'm just saying. I think he has made efforts to improve his image, but you're right. I mean, what he did a year ago and stuff with the documentary and stuff, there's a lot of questionable stuff there. But I just think he's trying to fix it.
Yeah, I think Kyrie Irving, to me, is the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA. He's just got a lot of baggage with stuff he believes in, stuff he's said that are a little off-putting to me.
But unlike Aaron, he's the second best player on his team and has been lights out this season. Right?
True.
That's the thing. Aaron Rodgers, he comes with that baggage off an injury with a team that hopefully is set up to go far. Kyrie has been that crutch for Luka, where anytime Luka needs a break, he's been incredible this playoffs.
Absolutely.
Kyrie has stepped up and been kind of like a team leader for a lot of younger guys, right? He's the only guy in that locker room that has been to and won a title where he's like, guys, I know what it takes. I've hit the big shots. I've done this at the biggest levels. Come follow me. I know what I'm doing.
He is saying all the right things. Even when talking about his time in Boston, he said, wasn't sure that was my best self.
Right.
He's kind of making amends for all the stuff, or trying to at least. It doesn't discount some of the boneheaded things he has done and said over the years, but he has been less of a distraction than he's been in years past. We gloss over the Nets, though. We tend to do that with Kyrie Irving.
We gloss over it with KD, too, though.
Yeah.
Well, I don't gloss over it.
That's true.
I wrote a book on it.
Writing.
Stugottzbook.com. I didn't gloss over it at all. But it is one of those NBA Finals where it is hard. I don't care if Boston wins, and I don't care if Dallas wins. I guess I'll care when I decide who I'm going to bet on.
Yeah,
right?
And it's otherwise it's an interesting final because the Celtics haven't won since 2008, and Dallas since 2011. So it should be a good series to root for if you're just a basketball fan wanting one of these teams to win for the first time in a long time.
I just think it's really about this is Tatum versus Luka. And maybe I'm disrespecting Jaylen Brown, but for me, Tatum is just the face of the expectations of this Celtics team. And Luka, consensus top 5, probably best scorer in the league. I think this is like a legacy-changing series for both of these guys. And I just think, and I am rooting for Luka big time because I want the Celtics and Tatum. I want this all to get louder because I think if
it's because of your hatred for Boston.
That's true.
Yes.
Right. I'm not hiding that. I'm just saying I think that the noise is going to get really loud for Jason Tatum because they're kind of like we were talking about the Panthers. They're the favorite here. Like you're supposed to win this series if you're Jason Tatum, and I want that noise to get ratcheted up for him.
I would give Dallas a much better chance if Luka was 100% healthy. Obviously, he's had that knee issue that his numbers are still good, but considerably down in the postseason compared to the regular season. So I don't know how fit he's going to be to lead that title run.
Whatever happened to rooting for good games?
Yeah.
Just rooting for a close, good games, 7-game series.
No, we want good games. We just don't care who
for.
wins. I mean,
Yeah.
No, I am rooting for
I'm
that.
used to that because the Bulls have never really been that good in my lifetime other than like 1 year when I was 16.
We always talk about Luka being the best player on the planet, and parity in the NBA has been hard to come by because these super teams have just kind of won and won and won and won. And now you see a team where Luka, the Mavs were good, not great. Obviously, they had a great second half of the year, but it feels like this is the parity of the league now transforming where Luka is in a finals in a year that he shouldn't have made it, right? Oklahoma City was better, Denver was better, Minnesota was better arguably, and yet they continued to win. The Clippers in the first round. Yeah. Like this is that, like you said, Chris, legacy defining. If Luka can win this one on a bad leg with a team that's okay, with Jason Kidd as the coach who's never really been that guy.
This is old school.
And
like this is Luka putting everybody on their back and winning a championship.
To the point of parity, last year the Heat make it as an 8 seed. Like, are we seeing a shift? Because this has always been the most predictable of all the sports, right? Like, we know the one or two
LeBron's going to be in the
seed
finals.
Are going to make.
Well, you have two teams that were built the right way. They're not super teams. These guys were drafted to the. Well, I guess in the case of the Celtics, Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday, but Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, both drafted by the Celtics. They're the core of that team. And in Dallas, it's Luka. Think about Dallas getting to the finals with Luka, who's not 100%, and getting rid of Jalen Brunson. Like that
and
is
Porzingis.
And Porzingis.
Yep. Is the NBA more predictable now, or is it just an outlier? Like, is it all the three-point shooting that you can make up these big gaps in scores? I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to the question, but it does seem the last couple of years that it's less predictable.
Greg, when we were watching the NBA in the 80s, I was going to say when we were growing up, but you were a grown-up by that point in the 80s.
Grown-ass man in the 80s.
It used to be like chalk all the time.
Yeah.
You would never see an 8 seed like we saw last year with the Heat and then followed by a 5 seed making it to the NBA Finals.
Oh, totally.
It was always Celtics, Lakers, Sixers, like the good teams, the top 1 or 2 seeds.
What's the reason for that?
The joke in the NBA used to be, I'll take the 3 best teams in the league, and you can have the field. You can have the other 27 teams.
Yes.
Because it was just so top heavy. Now I think it's different, but this finals is a good contrast because Boston has been the best team all year.
I mean, everyone was hurt they played. What a cakewalk
well,
they had.
Boston's been the best team,
right?
for me.
But it both can be true. They were the best team in the regular season, and every star that they played against in the playoffs got hurt.
That's fair enough, but there's also a metric that shows they have the most efficient offense in NBA history.
Right.
So they're legit a great team. And then Dallas is a little bit of an outlier coming out of nowhere, beating teams that they shouldn't have beat, as Tony said. So I think it's a good contrast in this finals. It's just not one that I find particularly likable.
It's almost like the architecture of teams in this modern NBA has changed, right? Where it was, you need 3 stars, right? I feels like the Nets were trying to do it. The Suns are trying to do it. You need 3 guys to be, it feels now you can have one guy that really changes the tide of your team and then another guy to supplant and help that. Right, like Luka and Kyrie, they don't need a third guy. They've got Gafford, they've got Lively, they've got just PJ Washington. They just got guys.
2 guys and a bunch of guys.
All right, exactly. You need
Architecture
2
of
guys.
a team.
Right.
I love it.
Yes.
I love breaking down.
Well, that's the old school. It was Jordan, and he couldn't win until he got Scottie Pippen, and then they won.
Yeah.
6 straight. That's how we used to do it.
I just want 7 games.
Yeah.
You
Give me a
do?
game
I agree.
7.
You want? So does Boston have home court here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you want Game 7, Kyrie on the road in Boston?
Wow, that'd be electric.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be
Spicy
good.
meatball.
We should all be rooting for a 7th game. If you could choose Jaylen Brown, if you could draft right now, and you had to do it in tandems, would you take Brown and Tatum or Luka and Kyrie?
That's tough.
Wow.
Luka and
It's
Kyrie.
tough. Luka's so good.
I take Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah,
just for the heaviness of the Luka side, no pun intended.
Kyrie's the oldest of the group,
Yeah,
right?
he's 32.
Based off
so.
age, I might go I don't know, man.
He's still in his bag. Like, Kyrie is incredible with the ball in his hands. Like, he can do anything and make any shot. He can do anything. So, like, for me, when I look at the secondary, Jaylen Brown versus Kyrie, I still kind of give the edge to Kyrie because Jaylen Brown can disappear in games the same way Tatum can disappear in games.
The Bulls did not win 6 straight titles.
Well, they won 6 in 8 years.
Yeah.
MJ won 6 straight titles.
Yeah.
Well, the Rockets won 2 because MJ retired for 2
No,
years.
I know. I'm
those
aware.
don't count in my personal record book,
Got it.
StugottsBook.com.
Can I ask about
Elijah
this
Wan never
book?
won a title because if Jordan, let me just get this out, Billy. If Jordan doesn't step away from the game.
Well, don't give away all the goods from your book. Why are people going to buy it if you just say it all right now?
It's a good point. But they win 8 straight, okay? And Elijah Wan never wins a title. And so that's all I'm saying. I don't care what the record book says. My record book says that the Bulls won 8 consecutive titles.
I think just off age, you got to go with the Celtics guys. Brown's the oldest. He's 27.
I think Billy was going to...
No, it's fine. I don't care. Your book was supposed to come out in July when people pre-ordered it the first time.
Yeah.
Now it says November 20-something.
Yeah, holidays.
Happy Thanksgiving.
6-month delay.
$29.99.
No delay. I mean, the book is written. We're just waiting on Dan. I mean, that's it. A little forward, I asked Dan to write the forward, and I spelt it Forward.
Oh, no.
Like a power forward.
You should write that, Stu. The power forward, and then it's Dan writing the forward of your book, and you call it the power forward.
I think Dan took advantage of me sending that via text.
I definitely know the difference in the 2 words, for sure.
Yeah, you do.
Billy, why are you so concerned about the release date of my book? What's going on there?
No, because you keep telling people to go to StugottsBook.com, so I went there and I noticed. And now
you
it says
got one.
November.
Thank you.
No, I went to the website and now I noticed it says it's available at the end of November. And I was like, I remember it being much earlier.
Right in time for the holidays, Billy.
Well, then there was a whole situation where I guess you were returning books to people at some point.
I am telling you, anyone who thinks they're returning a book, they're not, okay? I don't care. Like, bring it up, talk to Random House. I didn't do anything wrong, okay? We did a release. A lot of people bought the book. And then we did a separate release, and that came with an insert and an autographed copy. And now people are canceling their original release because they want the second release. Nothing I can do about it. You're stuck with the book.
Greg, how many times? Oh, that's not how I just sell your
Bring
book.
it to the studio. I'll sign it for you. I'll give you an insert. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Bring it to the
I mean, I'm busy writing a book. I can't control everything. What do you want me to do?
Greg, how many times was your book release pushed back?
I think it was pushed back a few months, actually.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I might have been the guy who had the brainstorm to wait a little bit and make it more of a Christmas season.
That was
holiday
your idea.
season kind of.
The publishing company didn't come up
Well,
with.
I'm going to take credit for it. I think it was originally supposed to come out in like August or something.
Yeah, you pushed it back.
Yeah.
Right.
Anticipation grows.
Yeah.
I think
The
they piggybacked on my idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the anticipation for this personal record book of Stugotz's is so great and building because of this very thing we're talking about.
Can I ask you a question, Stugotz?
Sure.
And it's probably a private conversation, but I'll ask you publicly.
Oh, great.
It doesn't involve you. I'm just asking.
That's what he does, Roy.
No, it's not. It
Yeah,
has
that's
nothing
exactly
to
what
do,
he
It has
does.
nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. I just need your advice on something. I feel like I hurt someone earlier unintentionally, and I'm wondering if I should give that person an apology even though I don't mean it. I'll give you the scenario.
How important is this person?
To my life?
Yes.
Not very.
Okay.
So I was in the kitchen over there, the eating area, the commissary.
Poor Taylor.
And Taylor and
Fuentes.
Tony were standing next to each other.
Oh, boy.
And Tony got very offended because I said that Taylor is in better shape than Tony is.
I did not get very offended.
He was
I said,
quite bothered by the
you don't
fact
know,
I
you
said,
don't have any metrics for anything. You're just talking shit.
Did you say anything, Tony? Did you make
it's
a face?
just stuff
Did
like
you...
this, just like very defensive responses when I was like, Taylor's in better shape.
You don't have
'Cause
metrics.
This is what happened. Here's what happened.
What metrics?
Taylor was eating a donut.
Right.
And Tony was trying to shame him for eating a donut. And I said, respectfully, he's in better shape than you are. Like, leave him alone.
Let's see those abs.
Stop
we can see
picking
them right
on
now.
him.
Stand up.
Because that's what was going on. He was trying to bully Taylor for eating a donut, and Taylor is in better shape than Tony.
You're saying Taylor can afford to eat a donut.
I'm saying
Right.
if I were to take dietary advice from Taylor or Tony, I would listen to Taylor's advice on what I should be eating.
You don't listen
and
to
not
advice
Tony.
from anybody.
It's an ab off.
But if I were, I would listen to Taylor. Taylor's in better shape. That's all I said, and he just got very mad at me. So
I
I'm
didn't
wondering, should I apologize for saying that Taylor's in better shape than him?
Don't apologize. You've
He just
already
kept saying
given
things
the
like,
preface
you don't
of
have
you don't care.
metrics. You don't know what you're talking about.
Are you
what
mad,
do you know
Tony?
about?
No, I don't care.
I don't care. I don't know. You don't
What's
know what
that
we're
BFP?
working out.
Well, saying you don't have metrics would seem to stand to reason that you care, you know? I mean, it's something you say when you care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And I was just trying to look out for
completely
Taylor.
You're saying prove it.
I was trying to look out for Taylor.
Right.
Right. You in body shaming Taylor, you then had to turn to body shame Tony to give him a taste of his own medicine.
I didn't body shame
No, I
Taylor.
mean Tony body shamed
He was
Taylor.
trying to.
I
So then
didn't
you
body
had
shame
to-
Taylor. Guys, we have lunch at a specific time.
Right.
Taylor is having a donut before lunch. He's going to ruin his lunch. He's trying to help the guy out, man.
That's very nice
Then
of you.
Fuentes
And
came
you're right,
in.
by the way.
Fuentes
Yes.
came in and said, in all fairness, you don't know if Taylor has clogged arteries, which
Little
had
bit about
nothing to
everything.
do with
Which is true.
anything.
Classic Fuentes.
Right.
A little
Classic
bit about everything.
40-year-old guy.
like his cholesterol could be through the roof.
That's what he
Right.
said. Yeah, he mentioned his cholesterol.
So you were looking out for Taylor.
I was trying to
was.
protect Taylor.
You didn't want him to spoil his lunch by
We're
eating
on the
donuts.
same side
Right.
here. Me and Billy are on the same side, arguing the same side of the
Exactly.
coin. We're trying to look out for Taylor.
So why'd you get so mad?
Why
Tony.
did you attack me
Tony.
for trying to defend him?
Who's in better shape, you or Taylor?
I don't care.
Okay.
It's not the answer to this question.
You just care about his lunch.
I just care about, hey, the guy's trying to get somewhere, okay, physically. He's got to take care of himself.
But I think he's there. I think he's
No, it's like
closer
you-
to his
it's like-
destination.
Okay.
Does Taylor feel like he's in better shape than Tony?
Good question.
Taylor, thumbs up or thumbs down? You're in better shape? Oh, okay.
Oh,
He
wow.
thinks he can run
Tony's
10 minutes.
laughing
That's a
at
thumbs
him.
up from Taylor. That's a thumbs up from Taylor.
Who's in the best shape here?
I do see Taylor, like, he goes to the gym. He's got, like, he does, like, trainer stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying I've
What do you
seen.
mean he does trainer stuff?
What does that
It is
mean?
very confusing.
He does. He's not just going to the gym. I've seen him doing workouts
Yeah.
with, like, a group and a trainer. Like,
do
he's
the
not.
rope.
Good tee
Yeah, like
shot
classic
as well.
try hard.
Good tee shot.
Good tee shot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Taylor's got a
Is he in the
decent tee
gym
shot.
with me and Frankie lifting weights up here?
No, but he does.
Frankie's in the
Okay,
best shape of anyone
just
here.
making sure.
Taylor does core work. Taylor's worried about like everything. You're just trying to get on like the popcorn muscles. You know what I mean? Like to look big for bikini season, so you look like a fuerte. And Taylor's worried about his health.
He's eating a donut. He's not worried about his health.
Nothing wrong with eating a donut.
Yeah.
If you're hungry, eat what you want.
Yeah.
Health food.
Yep. Remember those days, Greg, where you could eat a donut before lunch and had no
Oh, yeah.
impact on your physical?
You kidding me? Those days were yesterday with me. You kidding me?
Yeah, but now it impacts you physically.
Yeah, well,
When you were Taylor's age, you could do whatever the hell you
yeah,
want.
I do find donuts to be very filling. You know, I can eat 3 and then that's it for me. So.
Three.
Three.
That's me.
3 seems like the magic number.
Yeah,
for a donut.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
3 donuts?
Well, it depends how thick they are, and it depends also like
Krispy
how
Kremes.
how
Can you
fluffy
eat
they
3
are.
Krispy
Oh, I could eat
Kremes?
14 Krispy Kremes.
Oh,
Get
yeah,
out of here.
absolutely. Whole
Yeah.
I'm not going
Crack.
to.
Yeah.
The Coke, right? Healthy guy.
What?
Coke?
Cola.
Now he's saying he's in better shape than me. Okay, Tony, you're the healthiest person alive.
Tony, do you feel like you're in the best shape of anyone here? Just be honest.
No.
No.
Did that nuke everybody's argument just now? Or?
Well, because you're
No one
lying.
believes
Everybody
you.
knows you're lying. Yeah.
I know what I know, and that's it. You guys don't. You guys aren't with me in the gym. That's
And-
cool.
And you know it.
And you know it. That kind of thing.
Wow.
What's up?
I just bought and financed a car through Carvana in minutes.
You? The person who agonized 4 weeks over whether to paint your walls eggshell or off-white bought and financed a car in minutes?
They made it easy. Transparent terms, customizable down and monthly. Didn't even have to do any paperwork.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Hey, have you checked out that spreadsheet I sent you for our dinner options?
Finance your car with Carvana and experience total control. Financing subject to credit approval.
Stugotz here. Right now, my friends over at Simply Safe are extending their massive Black Friday deal for our Batard Show listeners. Simply Safe is the home security I trust to keep my home and family safe. I've been telling you that for years. This is your last chance to protect your home at Simply Safe's lowest prices of the year. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once someone is already inside your home. That's too late. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal for our listeners. This week only, you can take 50% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is your last chance to claim their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/DLB to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this season. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Don Le Batard.
Surely every time you're watching this, you recognize that your wife is laughing that she married
Yes.
Larry David.
Yeah, I do, yeah. one of the great characters in the history of television, in my humble opinion. And to my credit, my personality.
In my humble opinion, followed by to my credit.
To my credit,
it's amazing.
My personality
it's just amazing.
Does predate Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Stugotz.
Oh wow!
I'm not going to say Larry David patterned himself
you
after
copy.
me.
All right, put it on the poll, please, Juju. Did Greg Cote copyright being an asshole long before Larry David?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Are we going to discuss Caitlin Clark today?
Yes, let's laugh at it.
Is it the most...
Not a Caitlin Clark,
discussed...
the coverage, and how outraged everyone is getting about how we're covering women's sports.
I was going to say, is it the most covered foul in the history of all basketball?
Ooh, I don't know.
I mean, Greg Cote was doing the thing of like, oh, it's one of the worst fouls I've ever seen.
I thought it was
just it was a hard foul. It should have been a flagrant.
Was there a shiver in there?
Yeah, it was
Never
a dirty
seen-
play. It was a dirty play.
Right.
You know, it wasn't. It was more than a hard foul. It was an unsportsmanlike display, I thought.
I think if she doesn't fall, then it's different.
I just think they missed a call, and I think we've I was at Monty's yesterday. Great spot. Love Monty's.
It is a great
Everyone
spot.
in South Florida knows.
Mm-hmm.
You got the brick of curly fries or no?
No, I
They
didn't
send
get
out a
that.
brick.
I got yucca fries.
Like a brick of curly fries. They just take it and they put it in the fryer and take it out to you, and it's in a huge brick.
What?
Sounds healthy.
Damn, that sounds
awful.
great.
I've seen Billy get it twice.
They were still talking about it on SportsCenter yesterday at like 5 o'clock. Granted, there's been another fever game since this game happened.
It's unbelievable.
They're still talking about just this foul getting upgraded to a flagrant one. And the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because yesterday Pat McAfee called Caitlin Clark a white bitch on ESPN and then had to apologize for it. And Stephen A. Smith also embarrassed himself on First Take, arguing with Monica McNutt. So like two of ESPN's top talent just completely embarrassed themselves talking about women's sports, a league that they're partnered with at ESPN, and nothing's gonna happen. Like they're both just gonna like, it's fine, gonna get away with it, and nothing really matters. And I find that like mind-boggling.
Wasn't Stephen A. Smith kind of doing like stats, like we talk more about the WNBA than every other show? Like who cares? But you're not talking about it well.
Well, Stephen A. also then doubled down on his podcast, which he basically said, you only know who Monica McNutt is because of me, because I put her on First Take.
I handpicked
the
the roster.
that.
I handpicked the roster, and you.
Wow. He made it a lot worse. McAfee tried to argue that he said it complimentary in a strange defense for himself. He tried to say well, I meant it as a compliment, and then like issued an apology, and then later on WWE Raw called a wrestler a white bitch.
Jess,
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, sorry.
Jess, it's funny because we've been discussing men's sports for 50 years now on the radio. 50 years, 40, 50 years, and we're still terrible at it. And so now we're discussing women's sports. And you expect, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying it's going to take a minute. We're not doing it well. And I'm confused. Have men never watched women's sports before? Because Caitlin Clark came in with all this fanfare, deserved, by the way. But LeBron went through this. Michael Jordan went through it. Caleb Williams is about to go through it. People are going to take their shots. They're going to say, hey, we're pretty good over here as well. It's not just about Caitlin Clark. And she's going through some of those rookie lumps that all the great players go through. Women are competitive. Is that surprising to men?
I guess so. I mean, I'm with you, Stugotz. Like I played sports growing up, and it was super physical. There would be fights sometimes. There would be like really intense competition, and that's part of any sport, and not just the WNBA. Any sport. I'm sure when you coached your daughter's lacrosse team and are watching her play at Northwestern, it's super. Lacrosse is one of the most physical sports there is. There's hard fouls all the time. It's just like very weird how this has become a conversation about like having to protect Caitlin Clark, who also dishes it out too. That's part of her game. That's a reason why people like her, is because she's so tough. She's a tough player in college, and she'd dish it out. And I'm not saying that Kennedy Carter should have done this. Obviously, I said yesterday it should have been called a flagrant on the spot, and I don't think this entire backlash happens if the refs just don't miss that call. But it's so weird how like mainstream sports has been covering this for like 3 days. And also when it goes to Stephen A. Smith, all he had to do was say like, you're right, like we'll do better. And I think that whole conversation like doesn't happen. Like it doesn't require a lot for men who have been covering sports for a long time that are now catching up to the popularity of women's sports, just to say, like, you're right, like, we're learning too. Like,
that's what we need to do.
Figure it out.
I feel like it's like our show, Throwing Stones. Like, we've been showing our ass on this stuff as much as anyone. So
we're talking about it. We're not talking about it well. That's essentially what's going on.
Yeah.
And some people will say, well, at least they're talking about it. No, talk about it well. Do a better job. Talk about it in a way that kind of makes sense. And for people to not know, first off, I guarantee you, Caitlin Clark, Greg, I guarantee you, she wants the bumpy road. She wants people to come after her. She's a competitor. It's a sign of respect that so many people are going after her in the WNBA. That's what she wants. That's what she expects.
She did say over the weekend, I feel like I'm getting hammered.
Okay, but still, she's a competitor, and she knew she was going to go through some of this, and I'm certain she wants it to be done. Right.
PK3?
I'm certain she wants it to be done within the confines of the rules of the sport, but she doesn't want it to be easy.
I think it's great for the league, for the sport, that she isn't finding it easy. I think it's great that this wonderkind from college can't just waltz into the WNBA and pick up right where she left off at Iowa, because it speaks to the level of the NBA, the quality level. But I think everybody right now, the media and other women in the WNBA, are coming to grips with what nobody wants to admit, which is that Caitlin Clark, her alone, is a huge reason why a lot of people, including me, quite frankly, are paying more attention to the WNBA now than ever before. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's making a lot of other players jealous, and they should be jealous.
That's where I'll stop you. I think a lot of WNBA players have said that exact thing, that she's bringing more eyeballs and that they're happy that they're finally getting coverage. Where I'd stop is that they're all jealous of her. Not that it's wrong to be jealous of someone who is making a ton of money.
$28 million.
I don't think it's jealousy. It's like, hey, look over here. We're pretty good too, and we laid down the foundation for this.
I agree. I think it's more so there's probably some jealousy mixed into it. I'm not going to claim that I know what everyone is thinking, obviously, but I think it's jealousy as well as competition and wanting to prove, like, hey, we're here too. We also deserve the amount of coverage that you've been getting in college. And I think, like, it's impossible to even have this conversation comparing the players that have set the foundation of the WNBA without acknowledging the fact that those players played in the NCAA tournament without their games being televised. Those players went to college without being able to make NIL deals. Those players have been in a league where ESPN hasn't televised a lot of their games, even though they've been partners, and they haven't talked about it on First Take. And that was, I think, Monica McNutt's point, is that, like, this is all happening and it's a great thing.
So offended, Stephen A.
And it's, yeah, right. Like,
we've been talking. Like,
well, he found her. I mean,
he found her. Can't you just say, like, okay, we're new to this too? Like, he had to, like, get all defensive about
giving the
just
stats.
like, all right, yeah, like, you're right.
Where are the
Stephen
metrics?
A, do me a favor.
You're
Talk
right.
women's.
Where are the metrics?
Do me a favor. Don't talk about women's sports when it's convenient. Talk about women's sports because you want to talk about women's sports.
Because it's a good product.
Like
the games are. There's going to be more Sky Liberty tonight. It's going to be a great game.
Northwestern was just going for back-to-back NCAA lacrosse championships, and Izzy Skane has had every bit the career as Caitlin Clark had at basketball. I didn't hear a single person in the media, including you, Stephen A. Smith, mention her name or mention that team. You are only talking about it when it's convenient for you and your rating.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, what the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Dan Batard.
I don't like smelly either.
Stugotz.
Women stay home in the kitchen where they belong.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz.
This isn't the first time that Pat McAfee's gotten in some trouble, we should say.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not the first time he's mocked the trouble on WWE
True.
Raw later that night.
Do we think the call came that someone ordered the code red, like, hey, you have to apologize on Twitter? Or how do we think this went down?
I mean, he was, like, the number one thing trending. So, like, I imagine in his mind, maybe he was just like, I got to say something. But I would not be surprised if someone was like, yo, because that didn't seem very sincere. So it almost felt like a forced.
It seems like you're apologizing because you have to apologize. So I would think that somebody there got in his ear. I would have a hard time believing that Pat McAfee said to himself, you know what, that was wrong. I need to apologize.
The most important thing I think about all of this, like we just did, 10 minutes on the WNBA and Stephen A., a couple minutes on McAfee.
Fine.
Dan's in LA right now, and he's not talking about any of this.
Oh, must be killing
How
him.
much is this eating away at him?
Did he text you please let me come on and talk about it?
He did not. No. You have him texting me when he's away
Just
in California.
please.
He doesn't text me when he's here.
Oh, this story was made for me.
You don't get the 4 a.m. texts?
No. I used to get him all the time. I don't get him anymore. I'm thankful. I mean, you're still getting them? You're getting them now?
I honestly, has been a few months. I don't think I've got. Billy gets them all the time.
I get them.
The thing about his apology that came out, forced or not, I mean, it seems as though someone would have said something, right? Because even in the apology, when you see it, he says, I meant it as complimentary. Which seems...
How?
Well, no, I mean, if you listen to what he was saying, because he was saying she's the one drawing all the attention.
He was trying
I'm not defending him, but I'm saying he was trying to speak positively of her, but he just said it
just seems to be kind of
Calling her a
like...
bitch.
No, I mean, because he was saying
I know,
she's the one drawing all the attention.
I listened to the whole clip, and he had a screen of other white WNBA players on screen and was saying, see, look at all of these other white women that have been in the WNBA that are stars that we've ignored. We don't just like Caitlyn because she's white. That was the whole crux of his argument, which isn't that on its own is worth debating. I think it's crazy. Yeah. But in doing that, then he went and said,
it's just how he talks.
Bitch.
Right. And it thought that it was normal to say it on air, and then obviously it's not.
He thought that was a compliment, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he said
in his world, he thought he was complimenting Caitlin Clark, and then he apologized.
That's what the apology
What a crazy
says.
world he lives in, where he thinks that's a compliment.
That's a weird world.
I mean,
he almost said it in the context of she's a badass, and his way of saying badass. Is,
I get it. Yes.
No, it's just that's
not the way to say it.
That's the way he says it.
Yes. He says it's 100% on me. Well, who else would it be on? I hate that in apology. Hey, that's on me. No shit, Sherlock.
I have never
Love you,
missed
Pat.
NFL minicamp coverage more. I'm not going to lie. It's
mandatory minicamp. Oh,
Yeah.
even better. They got to be there.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Sure.
As someone who...
Yes, I'm healthy. That's it.
As someone who's a fan of the WNBA, do you wish that the new fans would just go away?
No, honestly, I don't. And I don't mind that anyone that hasn't
It just
watched
seems like an exhausting experience at this point.
I think that there's new fans that genuinely want to engage in watch the games and talk about it and stuff. I don't even think that Pat McAfee and Stephen A. don't fit into that category. I do think people do want to talk about it more and watch the games and just be fans. But there are a lot of disingenuous arguments being made that come from a place of not knowing the history, not knowing the context. And I'll admit, I don't know the entire history of the WNBA. I've been a fan for most of my adult life, but I didn't grow up watching it. The games weren't on TV very much when I was young. I went to games when the Sky played in Rosemont, but I think that's okay. You don't have to know everything about it, but then at least come from that place of I want to learn more. I want to listen. I listen to the experts. The other thing that blows my mind is I hosted a show with Kate for 3 years where we talked about women's sports, and when we started doing that show, the amount of imposter syndrome I felt, I would say a pretty good base knowledge of all general women's sports, soccer, basketball, everything, college basketball especially, because that's what I did a lot in college with. But Kate's an expert. She's a best-selling author. She played college basketball. She's super smart. She's a super accomplished journalist. Talking with her about it, I'd be like, oh my God, I really got to know my shit. I gotta learn.
Study up.
But there's people that just go to work and they're like, I don't need to do any of that. I'm just gonna come to my job and act like I know everything. And that to me,
But Jess, what I'm saying is,
imagine.
we're still doing that with men's sports. I mean,
I agree.
This character was built on that.
But it's a strange defense.
Caitlin Clark needs to win a championship. That's this bread and butter right here.
We talked about this during the NCAA tournament. I think that's fine. I think GOAT talk or championship rings, put your rings in a box, whatever.
Best
That's
college
all
player
fine.
ever? Question
but when you're yesterday I'm scrolling Twitter and I see the Chicago Tribune editorial board put out an article with no byline saying that Kennedy Carter's foul on Caitlin Clark could be considered assault.
That's a great.
That is where I'm like,
It was Schefter.
whoa.
Yeah, we're just arresting black women on them.
Exactly, Roy. Like, there's a racial undertone that I think needs to be acknowledged, and also
that's ridiculous.
the obvious like gender bias that comes into play when we're covering female athletes and women has been so obvious when we're talking about especially this foul, which is a hip check on a player, a popular player. It's been done before. It happened to Angel Reese in a game last
Flagrant
week
one was
against
called.
Jonquil Jones.
Well, in hindsight.
Angel Reese got that was
Jess,
a
I'm
different
telling
play.
you-
That was Alyssa Thompson.
Jess, I'm
Or
telling
Thompson.
you,
Flagrant?
men thought that women handle sports differently. They're assassins. They want to win. They're competitive. Like, what did men think? Like, I'm glad that we're finally here and we're discussing women's sports, but what we're discussing is ludicrous. We're not discussing women's sports. We're discussing how to discuss women's sports. That's absurd. It is. Go watch women's sports, not just Caitlin Clark. If you want to watch it and see how women treat sports, hey, I got news for you. They treat it just like the men do. They care. They want to win. They get a bit jealous when someone's getting all the hype. Someone has all the camera time. So what do? Hard foul. You've never seen that before? You have. You've been watching it your entire life. This is no different.
Let's just call a spade what it is. This is a perfect opportunity for the weaponized type of people to get weaponized and get behind something of this racial magnitude. Because like you just said, Angel Reese just suffered the same thing. Jonquil Jones pushed her, and then she pushed her again harder. But she got after the game like, oh, thank you, excuse me, pardon me. AT did the same thing with her. The victim angle that Caitlin took weaponized everybody. That wasn't a basketball play. And that's the part where the same bots that activate after Trump, they activate on these type of things, and that's what's happened. Everybody, like Chris said, bro, Stephen A. of the world, just say you ain't been doing a good enough job.
Right.
Don't nobody care, but be real.
He's
That's
keeping
what we
stats.
Want.
No, he's talked about it more than anyone.
Right, we just want it real.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's just like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I'll do better. And everyone's like, yes. He just said I'll do better. Like, that's so
She
brave.
wasn't even criticizing Stephen A. She was giving him his flower. Like, yes, you've had us here, but you could have been doing it 3 years ago. And he's just like, I'm gonna go film a whole podcast about this.
Right. That's where you can say the quote unquote men of the world. That's embarrassing for us. Like when you say we don't want to say we don't know the way if you ask us directions. That stereotype. Same situation,
Yeah.
Stephen A. Bro, you could have been doing this last year, bro. I ain't hear you say nothing about Ryan Howard.
Right.
I ain't hear you say nothing about these ladies, Nelson Adoda from the Connecticut. But you don't even know these folks for real. So just at least keep it real. Like, oh, that's my fault. Don't double down and get on your podcast later on and say, do you know Monica McNutt? It's because of me. Like,
Andrea Carter, have you heard of her?
That's
wild,
It's a big
man.
cringe.
I mean,
It's
it's
super
ridiculous.
Men, that is
it's
a thing-
perfectly Stephen A., but you just can't do
perfectly
that.
Stephen
No,
A.
but that is a thing that women hear and acknowledge and take note of, because I hear men say that all the time. Like, oh, well, I hired this person. I invented them. I created them. Like, taking credit for a person's success. Every woman has heard a man in their career say that at some point, and they take note of that. He's not the first person to do that. That is a terrible look.
Yeah.
Barkley saying stuff like they should make it easy on her and, kiss her hand because she's brought all this exposure and they have chartered flights because of her. No, what the other women are saying is, no, we laid the foundation. We're pretty good too. We're the reason she has this platform to do what it is that she's doing. That's all they're objecting to. It's absurd.
She talk. She out there talking big crowd. She out there, she doing the same thing. So shoot, these folk want to see you back it up because I'm a brick wall, sis.